If you want to get in on the action, we want to hear from you. Email us at faderoutemail@gmail.com with your questions, comments, picks, segment suggestions, you name it. We want to hear from you. We're on Instagram too. Slide in our DMs at Fade Route Podcast. Get at us. A little blue birdie told us we're on Twitter now. Give us a follow at FadeRouteDNZ. Get at us.
Badges. Here's what's going on. We ain't got no badges. Doing is proud, yes. We don't need no badges. Looking for yours. Yes. I don't have to show you any stinking badges.
Ewing. Oh, wow. Oh, now he's going to take him to dinner.
Badges? We don't need no stinking badges. Next.
Welcome to the Fade Route with D and Z. Here are your hosts, D and Z.
Welcome to this issue of the Fade Route. I am D, and with me as always is Z, and we have a full complement of sports talk today. We have NFL free agency, we have Major League Baseball experimenting with different rule changes, and Chi-Town Mike is going to join us on the in route to talk about March Madness and offer up some bets you can make this weekend to make good on your stimulus check or your IRS refund. But we're going to begin today with talking about the retirement of Drew Brees. A couple of weeks ago, we discussed his prowess and his stature as an NFL quarterback. But now we're going to focus on the future of the Saints. Where do they go from here? How does the quarterback market now look that Drew Brees is out of the picture? What's up, Z? How's it going?
What's going on, brother? And you know what? The Saints, where do they go from here? They go down. They definitely go down. Even though they re-signed Jameis Winston, they have Taysom Hill on that deal. Like, neither one of those guys is as good as Drew Brees was on the decline. So I don't see them, as presently constituted, being as good as they were last year.
You know, it's interesting you say that. I actually went back and I looked at Drew Brees' numbers. The first 5 years he was in the league with the San Diego Chargers. And I compared them to the first 5 years Jameis Winston was in the league with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And the numbers are surprisingly very close. We have Drew Brees with 40 touchdowns. Okay. Jameis Winston 28. All right. Give him that. I'm sorry. We have Drew Brees with 80 touchdowns and Jameis Winston with 121 touchdowns. We have Drew Brees with 40 wins and Jameis Winston with only 28 wins. In yards passing, we have Drew Brees with 12,000, Jameis Winston with 19,000 yards. And completion percentage, we have Drew Brees with 62% and Jameis Winston with 61%. So he actually has a chance to rewrite his story just as Drew Brees did. Now, apparently there was a secret meeting where the Bears met with the Seahawks in North Dakota to discuss possibly dealing for Russell Wilson. I'm not sure what the asking price was, but the general manager of the Bears couldn't pull it off. So I think Ryan Pace has really lost his stature in the league as a GM. But you could just see that getting someone like Russell Wilson it's really out of the question. I don't see that as an option for the Saints. Deshaun Watson was hit with a civil lawsuit today from his masseuse. Not sure anybody's going to be wanting to trade for him right now because the ramifications could be that next year he might have to miss some games under the NFL's policies. So it's quite possible that the Saints could go into training camp with Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston, let them battle it out, and you might be surprised that Jameis Winston rises to the occasion. I mean, we all know he's got the arm. He could throw. It's just a matter of, is he mature enough to know when to throw the ball away, when to take a sack, and when to deliver the football to the correct team.
That's the most important thing, is that he has it's not the arm strength. That's not the problem. It's sometimes the decision-making and the accuracy, because he was a Mr. 30-30, not 30 homers and 30 steals, 30 touchdowns, 30 picks. Like that's horrible. That's the only word you can put out there, is that is horrible. And the defense of the Saints is not good enough to overcome that level of terrible quarterback play. But to kind of pick up on what we were talking about with Russell Wilson, I don't think financially it's not going to work for them either, because the Saints are still strapped against the cap. And I just want to know about this meeting. Like, is it the Treaty of Boise? I'm like, what the fuck?
Why? Yeah. Why did they go to North Dakota of all places?
He wanted to see Mount Rushmore. Is that what it was? Or no, Rushmore. He went to Mount Rushmore. It's in South Dakota. Ryan, you need to know your geography. But I'm like, why? I don't understand that aspect of it. But
the thing that's getting me is what did he offer? I'd love to know what the offer was. And you've got to assume that it had to be picks, and I'm guessing defensive players and linebackers, because let's be real, the Bears do play decent defense, right?
Oh, yeah, no.
Really, you would say that their biggest hole outside of the quarterback position is the offensive line. So why would Russell Wilson even consider going there? And at this point, I'm starting to think that Russell Wilson really wants out, right? Because why would you leak these teams that you would be willing to go to if you didn't want your team to seek out a trade? And one of the things Pete Carroll said this week was that, he's not interested in the rebuild and he wants to move forward with Russell Wilson. I'm not sure how much weight Pete carries in this call, but, I see this as a failure on Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy to get a deal done, honestly.
No, it definitely is. And honestly, let's reflect a little bit on the list that Russell Wilson put forward. The Cowboys, they're off the table now that they sound Dak Prescott. Done. The Raiders just lost their entire offensive line, and they have Derek Carr.
Right.
So, that's off the table. Unless Derek Carr becomes available, then why the hell would you go to a team without an offensive line? So, same for the Bears. And the fourth team, who was the fourth team on that list? It was the Saints. The Saints can't afford you, bro. So you're going to have to do a little bit of either you're going to have to mend some fences and do what some of these other players are doing, and that's forking over a little bit of your money, deferring it to at least, or restructuring completely, or you're just going to have to take it on the chin. And it doesn't sound like Russell Wilson is willing or eager to take it on the chin. And as far as Deshaun Watson goes, man, this is not good. A second masseuse has come out. So I just hope that he is not on record saying anything about Robert Kraft, because, we
got to dig that up. Stat boy, dig that up for us. See if you can find anything.
That's just going to rub me the wrong way. And I don't want to tug at your heartstrings here, but
don't tug at anything.
No, this will not be a happy ending for Houston fans or Deshaun Watson. Not at all.
Well, yeah, with the league year really getting started and free agency opening, one team that was ready once that free agency period opened was the New England Patriots. They tried to reload on day one. They're trying to get a division title on day one, signing players like Matt Judon, Nelson Aguilar, Jonnu Smith, Jalen Mills, Kendrick Bourne, Dietrich Wise, Devon Gacho, and Ted Karras. They were ready to go. So do you think they loaded up enough to win the title just in one day of free agency?
And Hunter Henry on day two, and they're getting back 6 players on defense?
Yes.
Still no. No, they have not solved the quarterback issue. If Cam Newton is going to have the pop gun arm that he had last year, and it's going to be a throwback to the wing T offense, no, they're dead in the water. They have not done nearly enough because they have not addressed the pressing issues of the quarterback not being able to throw the football. Will they be able to? Did they leapfrog Miami to second place? Probably. The Jets haven't done anything worthwhile yet. The Bills, the Bills haven't needed to do anything. They're the division champions. To be the man, you have to beat the man. To quote the great Nature Boy Ric Flair.
Ric Flair, baby.
Absolutely. To be the man, you got to beat the man. And they're adding. They brought in Emmanuel Sanders in free agency. So, division title, no. Wild card spot, probably.
So the one thing I will commend New England for is it seems like they had a plan, right? It's like we knew the salary cap was going to be lower. Day one, we're ready. Like we wanted Nelson Aguilar, we wanted Jalen Mills, and we wanted Jonnu Smith. We wanted those guys. Those are the first day. We're getting them. Next, we want Hunter Henry, Kendrick Bourne, Dedrick Wise, right?
Mm-hmm.
They were ready. The only thing is, like you said, I don't know about Cam. Like, if you're going to tell me that we're going to get the Cam from last year that's skipping in slant routes and can't really get the ball downfield, then, yeah, this is a dead end. This is third place, maybe second. But if they're able to somehow, some way, get 2015 Cam Newton, who's throwing deep routes to Steve Smith and throwing over the middle to Greg Olsen, they might have something here. They seem to have a game plan with the lower salary cap much better than the Bears and the Jets did.
Oh, come on. Oh, my God. The Jets and the Bears have no plan. There is no plan. It's written in crayon. So let's not even compare the organizations, please.
I just, Cam's going to work hard. And the other part is we talked about this for yesterday, was it seems like they're going to go back to their 2 tight end set. We're going to run the football, and then we're going to throw it to our tight ends. And if they do that and play defense, right? Of course, they're going to play a stout defense. And with those players coming back on the defensive side of the ball, they should, with Hightower and Chung, they should be able to play pretty good defense. So it's a matter of, can they score, and can Cam be Cam?
No, absolutely. Cam is the X factor on this team, and it's just a gaping hole. It's the shadow left by Tom Brady is so big that even a former MVP cannot fill it. Like, that is very interesting. And one thing that I find interesting about the Patriots is that they did bring back Matt Patricia. He's not going to be.
They did. I didn't even know that.
He's not going to be the DC. I think he's a special assistant. He's not going to be Steve Belichick is calling that deep. Well, technically, Bill Belichick is calling that defense, but Steve is there. He's like, "What do you want to run, Dad?" Dad, what do you want to run?
What do you think? What are you thinking here?
What do you think I'm thinking? Oh shit, Dad, come on. But maybe, and we talked about this in our production meeting as well, they're setting Cam up to bring in another quarterback who has a similar skill set. And that led me to Trey Lance. Are they high enough on Trey Lance that they would draft him, stash him under Cam Newton's wing, and hope some of that would rub off on the young quarterback to the point where maybe next year, maybe the year after, they'll hand the keys over and Cam can go off to wherever it is he wants to go off?
You're really big on this guy. You've been talking about him a lot to me. I just have a hard time. The
league is enamored with guys like that, though.
It is. I just, the fact that Carson Wentz also played for the school, right? And he only played one game last year, right? I mean, he's coming off of not playing enough and not playing so well. He definitely has the attributes that you'd want in a quarterback. I don't know if you waste a first round pick on him. Maybe you take him in the second or third round, but I'm not about wasting early picks on quarterbacks, especially New England knowing what they got with 6th-rounders and 5th-rounders and 4th-rounders and so on. But the other part about it is, they've exploited this pretty well the last couple of days on ESPN. Is the Patriots don't draft well. They haven't drafted very well in the last couple of years. So I'm not sure if I'm going to trust that scouting department and say, yeah, we're gonna really go into this direction. But like we talked about, NFL free agency is well on our way. We've talked about some of the players that were picked up by the Patriots, but what have you seen this week? What was the best move so far, or maybe one of the biggest head scratchers you've seen so far?
I'm going to go with the best move so far. We'll deal with the head scratcher because it's a big head scratcher. But
I hope you don't have to say what is me.
I hope so. But I think we're in agreement. But we didn't flush this out. We're going to do the Step Brothers thing at the end, But as far as the best moves, I really like what Jacksonville's doing. Like, they're bringing Tyson Alualu. They brought in Shaq Griffin but from Seattle. They brought in Marvin Jones to really solidify that receiving core. They brought in Cardinal Spellman High School's own Chris Manhurts at tight end. Woo! Shout out to the Pilot Falcons. But
friend of the program.
That's right. Friend of the show, Coach Opper. Yeah, boy. But, in all seriousness, I really do like that depth move and really kind of rebuilding and bringing in some culture guys. We've been split on this. I like Bud Dupree to Tennessee. I think he's going to, for one, you weaken the Steelers, so maybe you kind of benefit from that. And you bring in a high-energy guy, you bring in a good player on that defense, and you keep adding to that because with that offense as presently constituted, they're going to need it.
Yeah, so for me, I agree with you. I like the Shaq Griffin signing. I mean, if you think about it, he's a top 10 quarterback. He's going to team with their 2020 first-round pick from last year. So they're going to form one of the best tandems at cornerback in the league. Another pickup that I liked was I liked Shaq Barrett re-signing with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and that was all made possible because Tom Brady took less money. So they're pretty much returning that defense back. They even, I believe they re-signed Levante David too. So they're bringing the majority of that defense back. To start on head scratchers for me, the first one is the Bears signing Andy Dalton. So let me get this straight. You went from agreeing with each other that, okay, we can't win with Mitch Trubisky, even though he's well over 500 as a starter. We can't win with him here, okay? Now we're going to go to a meeting in North Dakota to try to get Russell Wilson, okay? We're going to try and get him. They wanted too much. We can't get him. So I got a great idea, Matt. Let's sign Andy Dalton. I agree. High five. We're going places. I feel for Allen Robinson in this situation because he's like, come on, man. And I like Andy Dalton. I do. I like the guy. But you can't really be serious. Like, this is your big move on the first couple of days of free agency. I mean, how incompetent can you be? I mean, they're making Les Snead and Sean McVay look good. Like, I can't see it. I mean, tell me honestly, the Bears signing Andy Dalton or the Redskins signing Ryan Fitzpatrick, to you, which is the better quarterback deal there?
Oh, Ryan Fitzpatrick.
I think, right. That's without even thinking about it, without breaking a sweat.
No.
Like, do you guys think you were competing against somebody? Like, who are you worried was going to sign Andy Dalton from you on the first couple of days of free agency? Is he that good? I mean, and then the other head scratcher for me was the Jets signing Corey Davis to a 3-year deal. Corey Davis? This guy? This washout first-round pick? Like, this guy was like a first-rounder. And he washed out of Tennessee, and you guys jumped all over him, giving him a 3-year deal? Like, I like Joe Douglas, but, dude, you don't get it. Like you clearly don't get it.
No, I also don't like the Carl Lawson move for them. I don't like bringing in teams from losing organizations when you're trying to rebuild a culture. I think that's kind
They gave him a massive deal too.
Uh-huh.
They gave him a massive deal. He's like, I think he's another failed first rounder.
Yeah. It's not like they went and got Carlos Dunlap. It's not like they went and got a premier player. They went and got another guy. I'm not too keen on what the Giants are doing. I don't like the Booker signing. I'm like, okay. Gallman was finally showing you something. You finally let him, which is nice. Deion Lewis was it was an signing. He was brought in to be a glue guy for Joe Judge. And now that he's a year in and he knows what he's doing, like, okay, maybe you don't need Deion Lewis. So, Devontae Booker, okay. Bringing in wide receiver. You brought in the wrong receiver from the Bengals. You brought in the wrong guy.
You got the wrong guy.
Are you kidding me? AJ Green was there to be had, and you let him go to the Cardinals. P.S. How good is that wide receiving core for the Cardinals?
Seriously. I was texting with a buddy of mine today, and he's like, "Oh, you think they're going to be good?" I think they're going to be good. They got Larry Fitzgerald, DeAndre Hopkins, and AJ Green all in the wide receiver room. Are they going to be good?
Huh?
He just got to put it in the area. He doesn't have to be accurate at all. Throw it up. I'll get it.
Oh, exactly. And the running game, like their offense it's stout. It is a good running game. Yeah, those are really just like really. I mean, the other one is like re-signing Ryan Suckup to a 3-year contract. He's a kicker. He'll be gone. That's how kickers roll. But one thing I found, we have a number of trades, and I find that very interesting. Like Rodney Hudson got traded to the Cardinals, and this one was really interesting. The Michael Brockers trade from the Rams to the Lions, dude. About 2 months once the Matthew Stafford trade came up, he is on record saying he was a level up from Goff. Well, sir, you've now been reunited with Mr. Goff, so you got some serious apologizing to do. When I said level up, I didn't mean. Oh shit! I'm sorry.
Not only that, but I believe he was traded for like a 7th round pick, like a ham sandwich, something like that.
It's like Mr. Irrelevant. You got traded for Mr. fucking Irrelevant. So. Yeah, I mean, I dig what's going on here. There's a lot of movement. Before we came on, Patrick Peterson got signed by the Vikings. I don't know how I feel about that. The Vikings, yeah, they're not good. They're not good, and he's not going to help them be better next year.
You got a lot of people striking out in free agency early. That's just my opinion, and I'm not sure what's driving it. Like I'm happy for Patrick Peterson because I wanted to see him go to a decent team, but it's almost like that is the Vikings style, right? They have that one corner that can, like, it used to be Rhodes for a number of years, and then Rhodes went to the Colts and played really good this year. I thought Patrick Peterson was going to end up with the Jets. I really did, because the Jets like to do stuff like that. Like, go get, like, they love getting people past their prime and, like, setting them up and like, oh yeah, we got a lockdown corner like 5 years ago.
Right.
Like Patrick Peterson's good, but there's a reason why the Cardinals didn't re-sign him.
Very true. And as far as like an under the radar sneaky good signing, like who do you have? Because for me, that's John Johnson to the Browns. You put him in that secondary with Denzel Ward. Whew, that is good.
Yeah, I mean, I the more I thought about it, I remember I gave you a hard time over the Bud Dupree thing, but I think you might be right in the sense that he's going to really make that defense better if he can come back healthy. And I was surprised he didn't get more love from Pittsburgh. I'm surprised that they didn't try to re-sign him or franchise him. But he's a guy that they're going to need a lot of help on defense now. So he can possibly bring them from maybe like a top 15 defense to like a top 10 defense.
And they're going to need it. They're going to freaking need it because they lost Jonnu Smith. They lost Corey Davis. And, Derrick Henry, you can only absorb so many hits. I mean, even if you're delivering them, you can still only take so many. Your bump card eventually gets cashed.
Yeah, and Corey Davis is gone, and not like Corey Davis was a world beater, but AJ Brown is now definitely the premier wide receiver there, and it's like, okay, well, what are we gonna do offensively? Like, he can't go for 3 2,000-yard seasons in a row. I mean, let's be real about that. And the Jaguars are coming, right? The Jaguars are coming. Maybe not this year, but you would assume next year. You would assume that they're definitely going to be on the rise. But switching gears a little bit. Major League Baseball experimenting with some rule changes in their single A, double A, and triple A affiliates this year. Some of the changes include increasing the size of the bases to reduce collisions. All infielders must have a foot on the infield dirt, and that's to counter extreme shifts. You have pitchers must be dislodged from the rubber before making a pickoff move. They're hoping to increase the number of stolen bases. And pickoffs. Pitchers will be limited to 3 pickoff attempts, and if they fail in the third one, the runner automatically gets the base and is treated as a balk. Which one of these changes do you like? Which one of these changes do you dislike?
I think the size of the base pads ultimately, the bases, I should say, they're going from 15 to 18. That's ultimately inconsequential. Supposedly that's for player safety. We'll see. The shift thing, it seems gimmicky to me because there's an easy fix. There is an easy fix already in place. Hit the fucking ball the other way.
Bunt the ball. Slap it.
Ball. Like, you don't need to legislate it out of the game. Just strategize against it. That's just my opinion. But, who am I? I'm not Rob Manfred. I actually paid attention in school.
I got my Rob Manfred t-shirt on, by the way.
Nice. I'm going to throw a tomato at it later. The step off the rubber, that's like 26 years too late. Andy Pettitte popularized the pickoff move in 1995.
Right. Everything Andy Pettitte would do would be a balk.
Right.
With this rule.
It's the Andy Pettitte rule. The problem is that Andy Pettitte's been retired forever. I do like the limit of 2 pickoff attempts because that also keeps you from stalling to get your reliever heated up. So there is an element of strategy to that. And that, coupled with the mound visit rule, I think is going to really kind of change the way how managers are going to strategize late in the game, to the point where they're going to really have to start getting their relief pitchers hot a little bit sooner.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, we've talked about this several times on the show. Baseball is perfect. It is a alligator. It's a crocodile. It's a shark. It's been perfect. It doesn't need to be altered. I don't have a problem with the bases. And if you want to increase the size of the bases, decrease the size of it, I don't care. Pitchers being dislodged from the rubber, I mean, okay. I do like the idea, again, just the idea of maybe making it so that the infielders have to stay on the dirt. I think it's fine. Like, I think it's okay to experiment with it and change it. I do agree with you that the other team should just hit the ball the other way. I don't see why people can't do that. In doing my research, though, it was interesting to see how much stolen bases have gone down in the last 30 years. I mean, we haven't had a person steal over 100 bases in Major League Baseball since the 80s.
Vince Coleman, baby.
Yeah, and then in the 90s, the average stolen base number was 62. The 2000s was the same. And in the last 10 years, it dropped by 10. I mean, that's a lot. And I don't think that has a lot to do with pitcher deception, but I do think it has to do with pickoffs and people also just thinking the Billy Bean way, which don't steal bases. What do you need to steal bases for? You're just going to get thrown out. Like, I pay you to get on base, not get thrown out going to second, So I am actually okay with the pickoff rule because I think that's going to create an interesting dynamic, because if I try to throw over twice, it's like, okay, now I'm really daring this guy to take a bigger lead, and try to just not get picked off, right? Because then if I fail to pick him off, he gets to go to second. So I'd be interested to see how that plays out, and I'd be interested to see, what the results are. But the whole idea behind these changes is to, one, make the game safer, but also, one, make the game more enjoyable and quicker. But I just think if you put some of these things in, I don't know how much quicker the game's going to get.
Well, no, I mean, you're not really going to change the fundamental issue with baseball with these rules. You'll affect it a little bit with the shift rule. That's pretty much it. For me, the main issue with Major League Baseball is that nothing is happening. Why is the NBA popular? People are constantly in motion. Why is the NHL popular? It's constantly in motion. The NFL, there's only 35 seconds in between, but then there's motion again.
Yeah.
Like, you can have cross-ups, and then there's a mound visit. You can have strikeouts, walks, step in 1 foot out of the batter's box. There's just way too much time. Those little things, the little nuances of the game that we love, coupled with the fact that they're not making contact and they're actively being discouraged from trying to make contact. Be the 3 true outcome guy. Launch angle. It's okay. Well, that's fine, but you know what? Last year you didn't play in front of anybody, and if it continues being at a snail's pace, you're going to start playing to fewer and fewer people.
Yeah, there's a couple of things going on with baseball. And again, I love baseball. I'll watch baseball. I'll go to baseball games. I have no problem with it. The issue baseball, I think, has is it doesn't have any stars. And the stars that they do have, they don't have a personality that you can relate to. I think about when we were growing up, like Ken Griffey Jr. was the star. And the guy really didn't say much, but he had swagger on the field. Everybody wanted to swing like him. I wore my hat backwards during batting practice because he did. You once bought me a Ken Griffey Jr. glove, which was the best glove ever, and I still have it. Like, these players were just in the moment. I mean, in basketball, you have not only like Instagram stars, but everyone's got their own sneaker. Everyone's got their own like apparel line, and in football, it's the talent, it's the action, it's the ability to throw the ball downfield, it's the ability to run past people that's attractive. Like, in baseball, needs their stars to represent the game better than they do.
How much of that is also attributed to the unwritten rules? The so-called unwritten rules where bat flips will get you drilled in the ribs, and you're not allowed to show personality. And we've been taught from an early age, don't show up your opponent. Like, now, that runs completely contrary to the let the kids play kind of ad campaign that they were running. So which one is it? Let the kids play or act like a pro? And there seems to be a bit of an identity crisis in Major League Baseball, but as the older guard are starting to retire and phase themselves out, like the Brian McCanns of the world, I think it's probably going to end up more to let the kids play.
Yeah, I think what you need more. I mean, you could do it on a more respectful level, right? I mean, you see basketball do it. Those players talk smack all day long, and no one, you're not told to shut up, stop talking, get back in the box, or get back to the foul line, or just take the ball out. No, they go at it and they gab with each other, and then they show up the other person by a phenomenal play. Whether in baseball you can make that a strikeout, a home run, or a base hit. Like, you've got to let the personality show. Like, you got to show that this is fun and not a job. Too many times I think baseball looks like it's a real job, and part of that is because by the time these guys get to the major league level, they're exhausted. I mean, they've gone through single A, double A, triple A, 4 or 5 different teams, 6 or 7 different cities, and it's like, all right, I'm here, and I got 162 of these to play. Not 10, not 20, not 30, but 162 of these games to play. And I think it just wears them down. And the other way you could bring in the fan element, just by bringing bringing fans in more. I liked last year, I think, or 2 years ago when they did during the All-Star game, like they mic'd up Freddie Freeman, and you were able to hear him say, "Well, I didn't even see that one," or "I got no chance." Like, oh, he gave me what I wanted. Oh, I missed it. Like things like that make it fun. Or when they're in the outfield, like hear what they're talking about, hear what they're doing. Like it's just, they got to make it more appealing to the younger fan, and other sports are doing a better job of that right now.
No, definitely. And, they definitely appeal to the youth. And one of the things, that's great that you're miking up the players, but it's got to be the right players. Like, I love Freddie Freeman is a good player. Like, I'm not shitting on Freddie Freeman. He's killed the Mets many and often. He's the new Chipper Jones. But he's not bringing eyeballs to the TV. Bryce Harper is. And Fernando Tatis Jr.
has a chance.
Fernando
Tatis has a chance.
Those guys need to be, you want to talk, meeting in North Dakota. Rob Manfred needs to get these guys in a meeting in South Dakota. And
it's South Dakota.
And say,
Dakota, Iowa. Get it going.
Boys, this is my idea. We're going to mic you up. You guys are the stars of the game. Like, you need to be the ambassadors of Major League Baseball. The RBI program doesn't really work because it's not invested enough in terms of stars. Curtis Granderson is making an impact. Curtis Granderson is not on the same level as a Mookie Betts would be. Tim Anderson. Tim Anderson was very colorful, but the problem is that it sometimes looked a little bit like we were talking about before, like he was just trying to show people up for the sake of showing people up. So it's got to be the right guy. There's a reason why Jackie Robinson, when we were talking about baseball integration, why Jackie Robinson was the guy. He was the right guy.
He's the guy. He's the
exactly.
guy.
Now, whether it's Mookie Betts or Fernando Tatis Jr. or Bryce Harper, whoever, you got to have the right guys being the face of your league.
Or the face of your franchise. And one of the things that hit the headlines this week was Patrick Ewing. Patrick Ewing, he led the Georgetown Hoyas to their Big East championship and had some complaints about the way he was treated in Madison Square Garden. He was asked several times for his credential walking through the halls. What an embarrassing moment from Madison Square Garden. What do you think of this 6'11" New York Knicks legend having to pretty much explain that he don't need a credential where his jersey hangs in the rafters?
First things first, I gotta say that it is completely different from the Charles Oakley thing. As far as I'm aware, Patrick Ewing has never criticized the New York Knicks. He's never been critical of James Dolan. He's never been, he didn't even say that the MSG network is boring. He didn't do anything, to the best of my knowledge. Patrick Ewing is a New York sports legend. If you don't know who Patrick Ewing is, you need, as a security guard, you need to reevaluate your life. I don't understand how the only thing, like I mentioned to you jokingly, of course, is that he wasn't in uniform and he wasn't sweating profusely. That was the only thing I could say is how do you not recognize Patrick fucking Ewing in New York, in Madison Square Garden? It just reeks of just not knowing anything about anything.
Well, the other part I have an issue with is it's not like this guy is 5'6", 5'8", 5'11". He's 6'11". If you don't know he's important, there's a problem. The only thing I can imagine is maybe these security guards are busting his balls. Right. They're joking around. You gotta imagine, right? You can't really be would they do that to Wayne Gretzky? If Wayne Gretzky was working through Madison Square Garden, Wayne, where's your credential, man? Where's your credential? You got a credential? You're not gonna. No. Does Derek Jeter? Do you got to ask Derek Jeter for a credential when he's in Yankee Stadium?
No, Derek.
Tom Brady need a credential when he's at Gillette. Well, maybe now he does, but I'm just saying,
they got a picture of him at the door. Do not let this guy in.
Listen. As a guy who's worked for professional organizations, I never would ask any former player for their credential, no matter how high or no matter how low, whether they're Joe Namath or whether they're Eric Coleman. I'm not asking for their credential, whether they're Derek Jeter or whether they're, I don't know, Joe Girardi, whatever. I'm not asking for your credential. And if I got to get fired and they ask you, well, why didn't you ask his credential? You see who he is? Like, it's not a question. And not to mention his team's in the finals in the Big East tournament, for crying out loud.
He's been there before.
He's been there. He's played in the Big East tournament. He's played for the New York Knicks. He's done it all. But they did have an impressive win. Georgetown, was victorious. Were there any other tournament winners this weekend that you were surprised by?
Not really. I mean, Iona won the MAC. So
I was proud of our guy, man. I was proud of Petito, man.
As a Manhattan Jasper alum, I wanted Manhattan to win. They were out in the first round, so it is what it is.
Oh, okay. I get it. Michigan State needed the win to even get into the playoff.
Definitely to get into the play-in against UCLA. How the mighty have fallen. Let's just go with that. Let's run with that for a second. You got Michigan State, a multiple-time Final Four appearance and championship organization. And then UCLA is godly. John Wooden, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Undefeated seasons, which we're going to get to.
Bill Walton. Granted, they've fallen on hard times of late, but these two organizations are in the play-in game. And Duke is out.
Crazy.
And Kentucky is out. This is crazy. We are in mass hysteria time, baby.
But yeah, like you talking about UCLA, one of the best, dynasties of an organization when it comes to college basketball, having, four separate undefeated seasons. So Gonzaga's, got a chance to run the table. They can join the likes of John Wooden's UCLA teams with Bill Walton, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Bobby Knight's 1970s Indiana Hoosier team, University of North Carolina's 1957 team, and Bill Russell's San Francisco 1956 teams all went undefeated. So what will Gonzaga's legacy be if they're able to run the table in the next couple of weeks?
They're a team that went undefeated and won the national championship. That's it. Period. End of sentence. When you look at those teams, everyone, you mentioned Bill Russell, University of San Francisco. He didn't go to a division powerhouse. He didn't go to Kentucky. He didn't go to any of the nationally known schools. He played, actually, honestly enough, strangely enough, I think that's the same division as Gonzaga. So very interesting.
Whack.
Yeah, it's whack. It's whack, all right. You have Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. You have Bill Walton. The Indiana Hoosier team had 6 NBA players. Were they superstars? No, but they made it there. So how many of these guys on Gonzaga are legit NBA talent? We know Suggs is. I don't know about the rest of them. Maybe that's me just, not watching enough of Gonzaga because they play up in Washington. I really don't give a shit. I'm not going to stay up late to watch them. Sorry. But in terms of legacy, they're just another team, in my opinion.
Like another undefeated team or just another team? Are you trying to say that they can't walk amongst the Giants or they can walk amongst the Giants?
No, they're not there's a tier in the Giants. And they are not in that. They're not in that next echelon.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's unfortunate for them. For me, it doesn't really have to do with their division. It has more to do with this season. The season was such an outlier. You had the Ivy Leagues not even play. And then you have teams playing, you have all these teams playing different number of games. People dealing with COVID. You had a situation where Virginia couldn't even finish their conference championship because someone contracted COVID. They up until I think yesterday wasn't even sure if they were going to let them play in the NCAA tournament. There's just too many outliers there, and good for them if they do finish undefeated. I think it's still something that should be. It's still remarkable, but you don't touch any of the other programs that did
No,
this.
absolutely not.
I'm
Now, where do
sorry.
you sit? Where do you stand on Mark Few as a coach? Because as far as I'm not going to throw shade at Mark Few because he made this school what it was and what it is, and he took it from a Division II school to a perennial national powerhouse, from the little engine that could to the engine that not only can but does every year. So, what is your opinion of him as a coach?
Oh, I think he's good. Yeah, I think he's a good coach. I think he would do well at any of the big time programs. He knows basketball. I mean, to be able to produce the winners he does year after year after year, you almost hope they go the full ride and they do capture the title. If this is one of the years where I think it's more possible than any other year with some of the heavy hitters sitting at
Oh,
home.
definitely. And if they do run the table, like does it sit well with you that you have John Wooden, you have Bobby Knight, and then you have Mark Few?
No, I'm okay with that because again, he's just not going to be. He's not going to be like if Tom Izzo did it or if Roy Williams did it. He'll be mentioned in that class and that's okay because record wise he did accomplish it. But like we talked about, this year is an outlier. There are actually 4 alternate teams that are sitting on the sidelines just in case someone tests positive in the next couple of days. So is it fair for them to be rooting for someone to get sick just so they can get into the tournament?
Right. And those 4 teams are Louisville, Colorado State, St. Louis, and Ole Miss for the guys that don't follow NCAA basketball as closely as we do. But no, it's absolutely not fair that Louisville is going to be licking their chops like, oh, Virginia's out. We're going to go in there and we're going to step in and you earned a 4 seed for nothing. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that's the whole problem, right? Is that if a team is not able, and this is just up until tomorrow, if a team is not able to play, one of those 4 teams will slide into their spot. But once the tournament starts, no team can slide into anybody's spot. If a team tests positive for COVID and they can't show, I think, 7 consecutive days of negative tests, then the team that they're supposed to play moves on. That's
a walkover. It's crazy.
And you got to imagine it's gonna happen. I can't imagine it not happening. At least with 1 or 2 teams.
And we don't. But obviously, we don't think they're actively rooting for people to get sick. But also, this definitely affects them too. The idea of rest versus rust. Are you going to put on your best showing when you're cold? Like, you're preparing halfway that maybe we'll be there. And now you're there. Like, you got to turn it on. So is it fair for these teams as well? Whereas you have the first 4, like you have these playing games, like they knew they were going to be there already. So what should they be, as a competitor, what should you be doing in this moment? Should we run scrimmages?
Right.
Like, what are you doing?
Right. And the other part is you bring up a good point. It's like if I'm preparing to face Virginia and then all of a sudden Virginia can't play and another team gets slotted in, like, we're not ready for this team. Like, we didn't know we were going to have to play this team. And now what happens if this team comes in and beats us? Like, it's just because we weren't ready. Like let's say a team like Baylor. A team like Baylor shoots 48% from 3. That's just ridiculous. But now let's say Baylor gets slotted out for another team. Well, we were ready to defend the 3. Like, that's how we talked about. Like, we game plan like we were going up against a team that's going to be raining bombs on us all game. Now we got to rethink the game plan. I don't even know the players in this other team. Like, I think it's unfair. It's unfair for the students. It's just you're gonna get into a situation where, like we just talked about, like if Gonzaga is able to run the table, and let's say 1 or 2 of the teams that they were supposed to play has to come out. Damn, that changes things.
No, it totally changes it because, like you said, you're not preparing for this team, and it throws the team that made the tournament on its own volition, it puts them at a disadvantage. Whereas the school that the school that is the sub, the alternate, should be at the disadvantage. But it's not the best of situations. You make the best with what you got, but I don't know. It's, you just kind of have to roll with it. But that is interesting. Regardless of who is in there, whether it's Virginia or it's an alternate, I'm taking Ohio in that game. It's going to because they know they're going to be there. And does that also influence how people fill out their brackets? Because it's just like, oh, Virginia's been out. They got the COVID. Like, do they, are people going to be a little bit more shrewd? Are they going to be in the know about this and kind of move the betting lines accordingly to compensate for that?
Yeah, well, we both filled out our bracket. You can check our bracket out on if you go to Instagram, you can see what we posted. And what do you got in your Final Four, Z?
So, for my personal Final Four, because we also did a simulation for Final Four for the Pick Route 2021. If you go to ESPN, you can find us there. It's Pick Route 2021. My Final Four is Iowa versus Michigan, Texas Tech versus Illinois, with Michigan and Texas Tech in the finals. Who you got?
I love it. So I did something interesting this year. I tried my best. I tried my best not to go chalk, but I still did, except for one team. I have Florida State. I have Florida State, Iowa, and I got Illinois and OSU. I was tempted to go all Big Ten and put Michigan or even Michigan State in there, but I've always liked Florida State. I like their coach. I like the way they play ball. I'm always been a fan of them. But ultimately, I have Illinois beating Florida State in the championship. Okay. The Illini. The Fighting Illini.
Very good. And for our simulation, it wasn't that far off from mine, strangely enough. And,
and
not only that, how you have to fill out the tiebreakers, with the score? It simulated the exact same score that I picked when I picked my bracket. So that is freaking weird.
Whoa.
That's some eerie shit right there. So it's Iowa and Michigan, Ohio State and Houston, and then Michigan, Ohio State in the national title. And in both scenarios, when I simmed it and when I picked it, I got Michigan winning this thing. Juwan Howard has his boys primed and ready. And to me, like, this run as a coach makes him the greatest member of the Fab Five of all time. Because Chris Webber, he's fine as an announcer, decent as a player. Juwan Howard is taking it to a whole new level.
Yes, yeah, I agree. He's done really well. I think, I like Michigan's chances. I'm not mad at that.
I'm getting hungry over here. Should have cooked up some dinner. And if you're looking for a new cooking show to binge, check out As You Eat It on YouTube, hosted by me, Chef Z. I invite you into my home and show you what and how I cook when I'm off the clock as a chef instructor. You're going to learn fun recipes and creative methods to empower and inspire you in the kitchen and take it to the next level. Cook how you want to cook, eat how you want to eat as you eat it. That's As You Eat It, available only on YouTube. AZ, you eat it. Check it out, and let's get cooking. It's the In Route, where friends of the show get a special segment with us. Want to get in on the action? Want to be part of the in crowd? Hit us up, faderoutemail@gmail.com, or slide in our DMs at Fade Route Podcast on IG.
This week on the In Route, we welcome our good friend from the Midwest, Chi-Town, Mike. How's it going, Mike?
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me back on. This is awesome.
Mike, Z and I just did our picks for the NCAA Tournament. So how good of a job do you think the committee did this year in seeding, taking into consideration the coronavirus and the lack of games played by certain teams?
Let's call it okay. Just run of the mill. They rewarded teams with losses and early exits in their respective tournaments. We got Georgia Tech winning the ACC, gets a 9 seed. Other seeds, 9 seeds are Missouri, Wisconsin, St. Bonaventure. I think something doesn't add up with those 9 seeds there. And then you got Florida State looking great in the ACC, and they get a 4 seed. So I don't know. I like the twos the best of everybody here, and I'm looking forward to watching the 2 seeds make some noise in this tournament this year too.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Florida State. I have them going pretty far. Which games do you like this weekend? If you're a guy that just got your stimulus check or you just got your tax return and you want to blow some money on a game, where would you send them to bet this weekend?
Oh baby, you know they're coming to me. They're coming with these picks. If you want to make some money, I'm going Houston with points against Cleveland State. That's 20.5. I don't care. They're winning. They're taking them all. And then I also think that West Virginia with Bobby Huggins is going to win and get to the Sweet 16. Take the points in the first round. They're getting 13. Doesn't matter. And then Florida State's getting 10.5. That's not enough. They're going to win by more. And then I got a little baby parlay if you really want to lose or win some money, depending on how crazy you feel. We're going Houston, West Virginia, Florida State, and I'm going to throw Iona with a cover in there. Patino's not going to let his team lose by 16. They're not going to win, but they're not going to lose by 16.
Mike, that's sexy. I like that. You know, West Virginia just always breaks my heart every year. I always have a problem betting on them, and especially when they're in a bracket. Obviously, later on, they have the chance to possibly face Syracuse. You know, I know the both of us really liked St. John's chances this year. We probably had them going to the Sweet 16. Unfortunately, they didn't get into the tournament. But is there a team like St. John's, an outlier, that might have a chance to go deeper than anyone expects this year?
Yeah, I do. I like West Virginia. I like Oregon or Oregon, depending on where you're from and how you like to pronounce it. And I like USC. I'm really gonna enjoy though the West bracket becoming legendary status for me, or haunting me like Duke does every year, and I accidentally put them around too far.
Got nothing to worry about with Duke this year, baby. They ain't there, which is crazy. Do you think that's going to impact a little bit of the viewership before I move on to the next question? No Duke, no Kentucky, Michigan State's in a playoff game, in a play-in game. Do you think that's going to impact the eyeballs or anything?
Most definitely. I mean, I love to root against Duke. It's like a second favorite thing in college basketball besides the UNC championship.
Nice.
It's just so good. And yes, it will impact views on the game. And I did realize that Wisconsin UNC got the, I think, 7 p.m. time, which would normally be a day game or something, but because they needed a primetime game to fill, that's where they ended up. So I find it really interesting.
I'm glad Duke's not in it. I'm actually so happy they're out and Kentucky's out. I'm partial to Michigan State. I like Izzo. He's an Italian guy, so you know I like him being in the tournament. But it's nice to see some of those blue bloods have to sit home this year.
Yeah, at the end of the day, they didn't deserve to be there, and if they were put in, like you knew it was just on name recognition alone. Switching gears a little bit to fantasy baseball. Most teams and leagues are going to be having their drafts in the next couple of weeks as we get closer to opening day. What players are you betting on to have a breakout season? Who are you watching out for?
Hey guys, I'm gonna bore you to death with this one. I'm expecting nice things to come out of Soto, Trout, Betts, Acuna, and Tatis to be picked early and gone early. I like Tatis meeting or exceeding his numbers last year. Obviously, a shortened season, but let's go back 2 years and matching those numbers or beating them. I like to see what Shane Bieber can do on Cleveland. DeGrom and Cole, we're going local here in New York, and both those guys, big things to expect. But I did dig up some sleepers for you guys to think about. We got Lourdes Gurriel with a really nice OPS, can hit home runs and extra bases too. And I'm going deep, deep sleeper here. Carlos Martinez, the fifth starter on the Cardinals. Watch this guy pop up with 11 wins this year and make somebody's season.
Okay. You got that, boys and girls. If you're doing daily fantasy or even taking some drafts, those are the guys to watch. Keep an eye on that. And if they don't work out for you, you can blame Mike over here. Talking now that it is officially the new year for the NFL, the Patriots are making some big moves. They appear to spend all their money on the first day of free agency. And did they spend enough to make you consider drafting Cam Newton this year or what?
Nope. Unless Cam gets a running back status where you could slot him in the running back slot, what is he going to be, 20% better? It's still horrible. Expect his total TDs, passing and rushing, to be around 30. He might not turn the ball over as much rushing, but let's hope that his COVID fog brain is gone and he doesn't have any personal distractions like living by yourself with your family out of state, which is nuts.
Yeah.
You're such a Cam hater.
Prove it, Cam.
After last season, he's got to be on a prove it kind of situation. I'm with Mike on this, D. And Mike, we'll get you out here on this one. You're a Giant fan. I'm a Giant fan. What free agents are out there that they should target? We know they brought in Booker. We know they brought in Ross. They re-signed Nate Solder. Like who should they be targeting, and who should they ultimately sign?
Wow, great question. How about the entire Raiders offensive line that got cut? Let's do it. Plug and play. All of them. I bet we could get them for cheaper too.
Do you think you could get a package deal? Maybe you could just work with all, one agent and get them, a group rate. You think you get a group rate on that?
Yes, definitely. Discount, double check, group rate, Costco pricing. We'll figure it out.
Oh my goodness. And we'll just get them some discount on some pizza or something like that, just to really kind of make it, incentivize it a little bit for them.
Toyota. Eli's got one ready.
There you go.
But seriously, guys, Galladay's still out there. Apparently he's doing a private visit with the Giants, which is a nice sign. Melvin Ingram could be the edge rusher we need. I just don't know what his deal is health-wise, and he's definitely got to pass a physical and maybe a mental. I don't really know what that guy's up to. Galladay's probably not going to be a Giant because I'm not feeling like he's going to sign. So we got Juju and Fuller behind him in terms of wide receiver depth.
No, stop. Don't.
So Mike, just so we're clear, you're past the point of wanting to trade Daniel Jones, or you're past this point of trying to get a different quarterback?
I would package Saquon and Daniel Jones and get Russell right now. And goodbye. And I'll take Carson back. They could send. I think he's a free agent though, but I'll take him too.
Yeah, I think he's a free agent.
No, he's gone. Yeah. All right,
I would do what I got to do to get rid of Daniel Jones, or just figure out what exactly he can do at this point, which is fumble and throw to the opposing team, which is frustrating.
Very well. Yeah. Very well.
Absolutely. Wheeli's got to prove it this year. He's got to prove that he's actually worth the pick and Saquon too, man. Honestly, Saquon, he hadn't done shit for me. Like, I don't know how you feel about him, but I feel like he's been a bit of a bust.
He is trending towards a bust. He has a season or two left with the Giants to show us why he was the second pick, or him and Gettleman will be departing together, which will not be fun.
No, it definitely won't. But you know what has been fun? This segment. We love having you on. And if you want to join us, if you want to be part of the in crowd, hit us up, faderoutemail@gmail.com, or we're on Twitter now, faderoute@DNZ, or hit us up on IG, Fade Route Podcast, and let us know why you should be the next member of the in crowd. Thanks for joining us, Mike, and we will see you again down the road, brother.
Thanks, guys. I hope the parlays hit.
I hope so, too.
Take care, guys.
Take care.
Are you in need of air care, maintenance, or service? I have the company for you. Air Care Technicians. They service the Westchester and Northern Bronx area and can help you with all your heating and cooling, maintenance, and service needs. Just give them a call at 914-315-1547. Again, that's 914-315-1547. Or shoot them an email at aircaretechnicians@gmail.com. These guys are the real deal as they are veteran-owned, licensed, and insured. Make sure to tell them that D&Z sent you.
Order up!
Boys and girls, it is time for our Order Up segment. This week we are doing the AL Central. So what do you got, Z?
There was a lot of meh in this division. Something about the middle of this country, something about the Central divisions in both the American League and the National League, just a bunch of meh. Now, it's a coin flip for me between the Royals and the Tigers in terms of who is the worst. Who is the drizzling shits of this division? And it's tough because the Tigers lineup is not that great, but looking at the Royals rotation, it's fucking abysmal. So like some amalgam of these two teams would actually be pretty decent, strangely enough. But
so you're saying they should combine into one team and come in fourth?
They should for 1 year only. They should be the Kansas City Detroit Tiger Kings, and they'll finish in fourth place. Exactly.
The Kansas City Tiger
Joe
Kings.
Exotic, baby. Joe fucking Exotic. But I'm gonna give the Tigers the nod. They're gonna be my fourth place team, which means the Royals will be my fifth place team. Just on the fact that rotation is so mediocre, even with Benintendi, even with Merrifield, Sally Perez. Hopefully he has a full year. Soler, Dozier, just not enough. And Matthew Boyd is decent. Daniel Norris is decent. They have your boy Julio Teheran. They brought him in. But, I mean, it's not going to be a great year for the Tigers either. Spencer Turnbull is the ace of your staff, and I think he got close. If he didn't lose 20 games at one point, I think he got close. The lineup, it's a growing pain lineup. You got veterans here. You got Scope. You got Cabrera. You got Robbie Grossman. The Buffalo, Wilson Ramos is there. So just on the edge of the rotation is going to edge them out for me. Third place, the Cleveland Indians, or whatever they're going to be called in the future. Still a decent lineup, not great. They definitely need to, figure out they need to figure out their budgetary issues because this ain't the same Cleveland Indian team that we're used to. The rotation, there's a huge drop-off. You have Bieber and Plesac and then three guys named Mo. But the fact that they have two guys, at least it keeps you afloat for a while. Number two, I'm going to go with the Chicago White Sox just for the simple fact that they have yet to prove it. 1 year under Tony La Russa, we're going to see what this team is made of because Tony's going to push some buttons. He's going to rub people the wrong way, and he's going to do what Tony La Russa does. That lineup is good. It plays. Anderson, Moncada, Grandal, Abreu, Jimenez, Robert. Andrew Vaughn might be their DH. He can also sub at first base for Jose Abreu if and when he finally gets traded. You have some bats in that lineup. The rotation is it's all right. I mean, Lucas Giolito, clearly head and shoulders above everybody. Lance Lynn is a career 4-starter. He's going to be in there. Dallas Keuchel is not what he used to be. So, a lot of people were saying, well, where were the White Sox in your order up their best rotations? I'm like, it's one and a bunch of guys. I'm sorry I hurt your feelings. Liam Hendricks is a good closer, but who's getting him the ball? And by default, that leaves number one, the Minnesota Twins. Good lineup, solid lineup, better rotation. Whatever you say about Jay Happ, he's not in New York anymore. He'll probably pitch better. So you're looking at Maeda, Berrios, Pineda, Happ. Solid. I'm going to take the Twins number one.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we're not very different. I think we both agree Tigers are terrible. I mean, they're bad. No,
They're
they're
awful.
really bad. They're 5 years away from being 5 years away. I mean, I see their ace a little differently. I like Casey Mize. I think he's going to
You
be their
see them
guy.
bringing him up.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, I think they're not going to have a
They're not
choice.
going to manipulate his
They're not gonna
service
have a
time
choice.
like they were trying to do with Kelnick in Seattle.
Not if they win not if they want to win, and I think they'll have to bring Torkelson up too. He's going to be probably their best hitter. He's probably their future. I have actually the Cleveland Indians coming in fourth. They gave away their best player. I don't see a Washington Nationals situation here where they get rid of their best player and they get to the World Series. They do have good pitching. I think I like their pitching maybe a little bit more than you do. I think Bieber, Plesac, Civil, I think they're going to be good. They'll keep them in the race, but it's just not going to be enough. I think Kansas City's on the rise. Everybody's talking about Bobby Witt Jr., and I think they're going, they snagged Benintendi, which I think was huge. I think a change of scenery is going to be good for him. Their rotation's okay, but Salvador Perez makes up for it. He's probably one of the best in the league at framing. They have enough to do better than the Indians. Let's put it that way, I think. And surprisingly, I have the Twins finishing second. I thought the Twins had everything they needed last year. I think them not being able to bring back Odorizzi, I think that was a mistake. It's a good thing they still have Barrios. Cruz and Donaldson, they're big bats. I just can't trust the Twins. Like, they can never get out of the first round, and they can never keep it going for an entire year. And I think everything's really primed for the White Sox this year. I do. I like them. They went and got La Russa. Kind of feels like a Joe Madden situation. I know you say Lance Lynn's a career number 4 starter, but when he keeps the ball down, he's really, really unhittable. Like, he becomes a different player. You saw that with the Rangers, and you saw that even with the Yankees. Like, you were like, wow, they were just able to sign this guy. How's that work? I think Galito has a chance to win the Cy Young Award. That's how much I believe in his stuff, and I believe in him. I think Liam Kendricks was a big pickup. He's going to close their games for them, and they're going to smash the ball all over the yard. Roberts, Anderson, Abreu. I see a 90-win team here, maybe 100 wins, and I think that's going to be good enough for them.
They definitely have the ability to get in the mix. I mean, based on that talent they have accumulated, they should be able to outscore their opponents enough to at least secure a wild card. What would happen for them? It would be a catastrophic failure for them to slip back based on what they've accumulated and who they brought in to run the ship.
Right. I mean, that's the whole thing. They brought him in here to finish this. This is it, man. This is it. We're ready. We're ready. This is it.
Unless Dave Duncan is coming with them. Like, I don't know. Like, Dave Duncan was the key to me because he was the mastermind of the pitching. Like, that you never went. La Russa never went anywhere without Dave Duncan. Now, we'll see. We'll see true. What happens, but I don't know. I hope Dallas Keuchel pitches as well as he used to. But, it remains to be seen. And I've been to that ballpark, man. That ball flies sometimes. Like, it's just kind of like Lance Lynn better pray to the gods that his sinker's working, because if it's not, it's going to be a long night.
But the other part, the other part is like, look who they're competing against. I mean, the Twins is really the only threat, and it's the Minnesota Twins. Like, they'll find a way to jack it up. I mean, let's be real about this. I mean, this team can't get out of their own way sometimes. They trip tying their shoelaces. I mean, come on. Thanks for tuning in tonight. You can catch our podcast every Wednesday nights on the Anchor, Spotify, or other outlets where you listen to your podcasts. Until next time, stay faded, everybody.
Thanks for listening to this episode of our podcast. If you like what you heard and want to hear more, be sure to like and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Rate us 5 stars, leave us a review, turn on subscription notifications, and tell your friends. Spread the word, spread it wide.